alive and doing well.
That you sounded very confident. We are doing well.
Yeah, my confidence faded when I realized I had to lie to the viewers.
Welcome back to Rogues Nerdery.
Rogues Nerdery.
Rogues Nerdery.
I'm Noah.
I'm June.
And I'm Jack.
And today we're going to be talking about Disco Elysium.
Yes.
What'd you say it is? RPG?
It's an RPG.
With many associated accolades from 2019. I think it released in October. Pretty sure 2019.
It's weird.
It's not the final cut. Oh, go ahead.
It is an RPG by like the strictest term possible because like it is a game where you are playing a role. But if you're trying to compare it to like modern day RPGs of like, you know, combat oriented,
like Starfield.
Yeah.
Is Starfield an RPG? Well, yeah.
I don't even know. It doesn't compare perfectly because it feels almost more akin to like a really, really, really complicated like visual novel or point and click adventure, or other games are just like completely built around interacting through the story rather than through like combat mechanics.
Well, I think it's got a lot of associations with like a pen and paper like tabletop game in that sense of the word RPG. And I'm pretty sure, well, I am sure that a lot of like the three main creators at least who like helped found like Zaum Studios started out by playing tabletop RPGs, specifically apparently Dungeons and Dragons 2.5.
Interesting.
And eventually they got kind of burnt out on like the fantasy setting, and
too many Welkins,
and ended up playing something very akin to, I guess, what we see in the Disco universe. And they also said that it kind of morphed into more of a roleplay aspect and the storytelling aspect than a lot of more technical interactions like with dice and numbers and stuff, which, you know, still serve a purpose and like have a role there, but was not the main focus.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I really like the mechanical system of how the dice rolls works, specifically in how it interacts with a lot of skills, which I'm sure we're going to get into. But one thing to clarify beforehand, this is a 2-die-6 system, so the average of it is really strong. You're
like
going to
Troika.
get... Was Troika 2-die-6?
Pretty sure. Anyways.
I forget.
Something like that.
Which means the average is going to be really strong. You're going to get a whole lot of 7s and very few low rolls and very few high rolls. So it's going to be rare that you're like punching above your weight by getting like a critically good roll. And it's going to be rare that you're going to fail something that you probably shouldn't have. I kind of like that. And it also means that stat bonuses mean a lot. Because if you're getting like 7s on like, what is it, like 1/4 of the rolls or some ridiculously high number, you're basically just moving what that number is by adding a +1 to the stat.
Yeah.
Which is fun. It's nice.
But, yeah.
It means
the stats
having
you choose really change the game.
The what?
The stats that you choose to have like really changes up like what you experience.
Oh, absolutely. It's like they planned out like different experiences for almost every single stat in the game. And how many stats are there? It's like
16.
Is it 4 to a roll? 4 to a stat, or is it 5 to stat?
It's absolutely at least 5, if not 6.
Oh.
I think it's 5. So that would make a total of 20, because there's 4 main stats that like then 5 each are based off of, so it'd be 20.
Okay. Yep.
And that is a wild amount of work to have to put in. You also get completely different things out of conversations depending on your stats, because like if you've got like a high perception, it'll give you like a different set of information to work with. There's a bunch of extra entries that you'll be reading for basically every conversation you go into. So if you've got at least like 3 stats that you're focusing on, that's going to be a different run basically than any other run that you'd be doing.
Yeah, or stats that just let you speak to the world. You just literally talk to the world, have a conversation with the city.
There are 6 skills per stat.
6 per stat?
So that's 24.
Damn. It smells of apricots.
Oh yeah, we have the apricot Red Bull, and it's strawberry apricot Red Bull as a homage to the game.
We're gonna start doing drink checks. Oh,
Well,
God.
we're sponsored by Red Bull.
No, legally we are not sponsored by Red Bull.
So I've got some fun facts, I guess, if you want to just start with those.
Just jump on in with fun facts first.
One's not a fun fact; it's just facts, I guess. It could be fun, but at the Game Awards in 2019, it kind of pulled Baldur's Gate and swept. It got Best Independent Game, Best Narrative, Best RPG, and Best Fresh Indie Game, because I guess that's a separate category. The original release featured voice acting done by Dasha Nekrasova. I know she is part of the Red Scare podcast, as well as that person who, she was the one who was interviewed by one of the Alex Jones reporters, the InfoWars reporters, wearing like the sailor like top, meaning like y'all have worms for brains. I don't know much about her.
There's a lot more stories there, but
well, I know there's a lot in general, and I will say for the final cut, her voice acting was taken out. She originally played Classier. Classier.
Makes sense.
They tell you, they have like a little thing for how to pronounce the names.
Oh, that's good. I've
Oh
only heard
shit! If I had gone through that,
A lot of them are, I don't know, difficult, I guess, to just kind of try to figure out.
So not only her, and I don't know who, I don't know the names because I'm not that familiar with the podcast, but I don't know the names of the people or who they played, but also 4 hosts of the Chapo Trap House podcast were featured in the original.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Who did they voice?
That I don't know the names of the hosts or the characters they did.
Okay.
But
Shit.
they were also included in that. They were also taken out for the final cut. I do think Dasha is salty about that, by the way. I don't know about the Chapo.
They did a lot of voices over again for the final cut, I believe.
My favorite is, I only played the final cut, and this is the last one of like my, fun fact stuff, but Linval Brown, who is responsible for the narration throughout the game, right? Just the main, like, I guess the different characters, the skill characters that you interact with, also does voice acting for Ultra Kill.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I don't know how or what, but I did want to bring that up specifically for you two.
He's also the singer of a band, too, right?
Huh?
He's also the singer of a band.
He is. Let me Google it really quick so I get the band name. I did not write that down.
So,
He's
having
the
a
lead
bunch
singer, of the ska and rap band Maroon Town.
Ska rap band?
Ska and rap.
Oh.
We're listening to some of that after this.
Delightful.
I
don't
need
think so.
it desperately.
I mean, I love his voice.
Yeah, did you hear him singing as the Lizard Brain at any time?
I don't think so.
Did he do
If you do the
Lizard Brain?
karaoke. Well, I'm assuming if he did all the skills.
Well, like, just the narration. I don't know if that includes that or not. But maybe, probably.
Anyway, having a bunch of leftist podcasters
Yeah, I could
do voices for their characters is certainly a choice, but I'd be very curious as to why they decided to re-record.
To re-record?
To find new voices.
I think they wanted to... I think they were getting a lot of other things voice acted. It was over 1 million words to do the VO for Final Cut. And I think they wanted more professional voice actors for that. Which I did look up the Classier characters, like, comparison. And it was fine. I do think they made the right decision.
Yeah, there's some voice acting in the original version, but not a lot. And then they fully redid it all for the final cut.
So you'd be going through and playing a mostly silently written game, and then you'd be just kind of blindsided by Felix. Or any of the other Chapo boys.
A little bit.
I do wonder who they play. But interesting. You're a detective. Game starts, you're a detective. You wake up in a trashed hotel room. Well, you don't know you're a detective. You're just some middle-aged guy. You wake up in a hotel room. You can't really tell what you look like. The mirror's fogged up. You have to put on what clothes you can find and stumble out into the world to figure out what you're doing.
I think you can figure out you're a detective pretty early on. You wake up looking like Dick Mullen.
Well, you can't see yourself.
What?
Your picture is blurry until you look at yourself in the mirror.
Which you need to turn the steam off in order to do.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's a whole thing in order to get to...
That's a good, interesting detail that I didn't notice at first.
What, that you can't look at yourself?
That you don't see your own picture.
Yeah. I kind of disliked it once I could. I was like, I'd rather keep it just like a blurry mess.
Well, that's kind of like part of the game, too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure one time I looked at myself and I died of a heart attack because I was so ugly.
Because it was so ugly that everyone died. Yeah, you stumble out. I think you run into a character that is important later on, who informs you you're a detective. You go, okay, and then you shamble downstairs and meet Kitsuragi, who fills you in on the general, I guess, premise of that you're a detective, he's a detective, separate districts, the place we're at is kind of on the edge of both, and no district really wants to take authority over that or engage with that in any way. So it's kind of like unsupervised, and they also have their own militia to some degree. But there's been a murder, and each district has sent a detective to go and try and figure that out. That is where you start playing.
The fun thing is that you can either acknowledge the fact that you have amnesia or pretend like it's not a thing and try and lie as much as you can and act like you know what's going on.
I made an effort to always lie to Kim about that one. Like, he knows he's walking around telling people that you have amnesia, but every opportunity I'm, like, acting my best, that I just, like, misplaced some things that I totally knew about, or I'm just, like, asking him questions to, like, humor me or whatever. That sort of thing.
Oh, I told him
fun.
immediately.
Told him immediately.
Yeah, everyone I ran into, too. Like, if I run into Joyce, I was like, hey, you know, anything you want to tell me about, like, the world? Because, like, I'm not really up to snuff here.
Oh, I did end up asking Joyce about the world.
Yep.
That one seems important.
I told everyone. And even Kim sort of had, like, this thing of being like, yeah, it's unconventional. And not unconventional in a he's unconventional way. It's like, I'm worried for his health, and I don't think he should be alive right now. But he does do a good job. You know?
Yeah. Kim is just such a good person. He is, like, genuinely worried for you. And you kind of turn him into a friend and your most trusted ally through it. Or at the very least, the way I played, and I think how any sane person would. Because the game gives you a lot of freedom. You can absolutely just kind of piss off whoever, however you feel like. But you generally don't, because you don't see much progress that way.
It's true. I liked Kim a lot. We had our disagreements throughout the story, but we ended up being fairly good friends towards the end.
Kim is like the anchor of professionalism, as you are just goofing around and doing whatever bullshit you decided to do.
Interesting. Is Kim like a DM?
No, Kim's the straight man, which is ironic.
All right.
So what kind of cops did y'all play? How do you play Harry?
I was very confused at the beginning of literally everything, including like stats and what to reference and how the game worked. Thought Cabinet really kind of fucked me up, but I didn't really understand it towards the beginning. And it only made sense to the like middle and end of the game for me. But despite all that, which I think was just incentivizing even an even heavier role play than normal, I was the sorry cop. By quite a wide margin.
I was the Rockstar Cop.
Okay.
I was like a 50-50 split between Sorry Cop and Superstar Cop, which was surprising because I thought I was a Superstar Cop. So the game records like how you acted throughout it, how communist, how fascist, how like centrist, how much you were like a superstar or sad cop like we were talking about earlier. I only had 1 point in fascist. I've got no idea where it came from, but I think it's balanced out by 37 in communism.
It's kind of spread. Communist is up there, but I think I have 4. No, I have 5 in fascist. I have 7 in moralist, and like 4 ultra liberal or something like that.
Ugh.
Yeah, when I played, I didn't really know anything about that stuff, so...
You don't have to. I think the game is designed...
Are those part of the Vision quests specifically? Or is that always in there?
It was always in there.
Okay.
I think the game is designed both for someone that like knows what they're looking at and wants to see more of it, or people that are being like, I don't know, bombarded with like, what was the game's like derogatory term for nerds?
For nerds?
Like binoclard or something.
Yeah, okay.
In their rhetoric.
It's just kind of, because you would just kind of do something and then it would be like, oh, point into this, and you'd be like, oh, wait, is that what I wanted to do? I don't really know what that means, but I guess.
It feels like you're kind of fighting the system sometimes, or you would click on something not really understanding the outcome or what comes with it, which also changes depending on what skills you have invested in stuff. Because you can click an option and then a bunch of other things chime in, just going like this, you know, like adding to it.
We haven't talked fully about how the system works. I've now realized.
Not yet.
Your 24 stats each are sentient and each have a personality.
Mm-hmm.
You might have like savoir-faire, which is gonna be like your coolness factor. And whenever you've got like a opportunity to be cool, it will pipe up and it will try to push you towards options for that.
Is it cool?
Sometimes they'll present more options.
Kind of like reaction speed, but more in a...
No,
like,
reaction speed is its own stat.
I thought it was more like reaction speed, but kind of like in like a timing sense. Like you were able to perform a certain way in a specific sense very well. Like you knew when to say what and exactly how to say it. You know what I mean? Or when to do what and exactly how to say it. You know what I mean? It was like a flair that you had.
But it was also stuff that didn't involve timing, like jumping off walls.
Yeah, it's true. But it's not 100% physical or 100% like reaction speed.
That's what makes it the coolness factor.
Coolness factor.
Okay.
There's the memorable ones are like empathy, visual calculus, the half-light.
And they all serve a different purpose.
There's also like, isn't there like an encyclopedia one?
Encyclopedia is good because it just gives you facts like on the world.
All
if
the
you're like
time.
encounter something that you're not super familiar with, it'll just chime in and describe it to you. I really like logic and rhetoric.
What's the one where you like talk to the city?
Oh, Shivers.
Yeah, Shivers. Shivers is interesting.
I don't think there's like quote unquote memorable ones. I think all of them have a whole bunch of dialogue written for them. Some of them just have like a higher bar before you start like seeing their dialogue, because the way it works is while you're in a conversation, the game is making passive rolls in the background using your stats, and whenever a opportunity arises for one of your stats to say something, and you make the roll, it'll say something. It usually gives you some useful information. Sometimes it's not useful information. Sometimes it's detrimental. Like, there's a stat for how tolerant you are towards drugs, and it's like your knowledge on them, how your body interacts with them, etc. Whether or not you can recognize if somebody's on drugs. I forget what that one's called.
Electrochemistry.
Electrochemistry. So having a high stat of electrochemistry allows you to like interact with that part of the game, which is really useful because you're in Martinez. It's like there's a bit of a problem about that around the city, and you're a cop there, so it's useful. But it also will try to like navigate you towards engaging with them in ways that Kim really doesn't like. So by having a really high electrochemistry, you will be bombarded with just this absolute asshole just like constantly going, there's some speed, grab it and take it. That sort of thing.
You also, I think, depending, if you invest in that stat, at a certain point you have to, if you don't want to take psychic or physical damage, you have to engage with it.
Yeah. And like, I put a lot of points into Encyclopedia, which meant I constantly had Encyclopedia giving me like tons of facts about everything. Just paragraphs and paragraphs of information.
I feel like that one kind of wore me out, to be honest.
Yeah, but the thing is...
I really liked Rhetoric, but...
Rhetoric was a lot of fun. The thing is, Encyclopedia leads you astray. A lot of times they'll give you information that is not useful to the situation, and it will open up dialogue options you can choose and try to persuade you to choose them, when all it will do is make you look like an asshole if you take them.
Where you're just like, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of... Yeah. It gives you a lot of actually opportunities, and some of them are bad and some of them are good. So all of the stats come with like some degree of risk, and you have to personally moderate them.
Well, I know in the Kurvitz EGX interview, he said that... Well, first he said, hey, everyone, if people want to take this, please take it. Developers, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Make your... Make personality traits characters. Like, please do this.
So good.
But he also said that, in a way, it was like, for a game sense, he was trying to simulate, it almost is a way to simulate thinking. Where it's like, the more experience you have with stuff, or skills, I guess, or points you have skills in, or skills that you have points in, just react like those thoughts. So the more familiar you are with them, you do just get bombarded with these things, or they're constantly like brought up, and you kind of have less control over your thoughts. Well, not less control over your thoughts, but he wanted to simulate that structure where they're going to be there and you're going to have to contend with them in some way. Mm-hmm. Especially depending on what you put skills into.
They I think that's interesting. Really good job. I think it's the most impressive thing in the game is just how well they did at writing the, like, 24 stats and how they interact with you.
Yeah, that's what really makes the game, is that whole system. Having conversations with your own brain. And then on top of that system, there's also the health and the morale, which is kind of interesting. But I guess it's kind of simple, actually, but, you know, you've got, like... your health bar, which you can increase a little bit over time. I think mine was only ever up to like 2, or maybe that's not correct.
I only did 2.
Okay, so it doesn't go very high, so there's not much room for like...
I had 4 or 5.
Taking a lot of damage. Really?
I at least had 4.
Must have had a lot of physical stats there, huh?
I don't think so.
The first physical stat, I forget what it's called, is what decides your health. And volition is what decides your morale. And it's the game's way of, like, creating a degree of risk in conversation. Yeah. There are situations where, like, you don't want to choose certain options because you don't know if it might damage you in one way or another. Or you don't want to risk failing something because you don't want it to damage you.
Yeah, and you can lose health depending on choices that you make. And then also, your morale bar also, you know, you have very limited... in, like, certain things, like, I don't know, like if you get like disrespected or you do something that kind of like makes you embarrassed, you can lose morale and
You take psychic damage.
yeah, it's basically like a psychic damage, but you could actually just like die. Like what I said, like I had a heart attack when I saw myself in the mirror because it caused my morale to go down to 0, and my character died.
And what's even cooler is it's like it's taxing you if you want to go into specifically really sad thoughts and delve into your memories, or like
Oh yeah.
try to internalize something horrific in the world. You'll take some morale damage, but you'll get some really interesting dialogue out of it. So I found myself trading morale health a lot because I wanted to like delve deeper into something that was telling me, no, stop thinking about this, you're just gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah, diving into your past is definitely like one of the most interesting things also in the game.
No, what you can do is go into dialogue with like a burlap sack full of magnesium and just be like
true.
taking those throughout the entire conversation and just take every single hit of morale damage to be able to really get at the roots of it.
I didn't realize that you could take it during conversations. So there were a couple of times I absolutely had to just reload the game because Harry had like a mental breakdown or just died on the spot. And I was like, well, we'll try that again.
Yeah, I died once moving the dead body.
I
I don't remember if that was morale or health though,
It could have been
because
hell.
my character wasn't that very strong.
I had 5 points in, or 5 total stat and volition, so I've got 5 morale. And I had the conceptualization idea, which I'll get to how idea cabinet works in a moment, or thought cabinet. But it's said that whenever I succeeded at a conceptualization passive roll, I would regenerate 1 morale.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
meant that I was able to just like constantly have enough morale to get around because my conceptualization stat was so high that I succeeded every passive roll I came across. So if I go into a conversation, it will just heal my morale back up to full. So long as I don't lose 5 morale all at once, I'm usually fine. I could just like go talk to somebody and be like, hey, what are you doing there? Here's what I think about it. And I'm just back up to full.
That's pretty helpful. Although
Yeah.
there are probably conversations where you can lose 5 morale.
Absolutely. I went through like 5 health trying to do the Rudy thing. When you get caught in the trap.
Yeah.
Because I kept trying to resist it. I was like, I was being a cool cop.
That was a difficult.
I was just losing
Time.
health. But the thing was, I had
I think
9.
that pushes you to do something, right? And in that split-second reaction,
Oh,
there
no,
is
no.
a fallout to that.
No. Here's the thing. I was like, I've got other dialogue options, and I've got 9 healing items in my pocket. I'm just going to exhaust all of those options before I deal with this one. So I just stood there taking damage and kept the conversation going.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
Again, I played this game like a psychopath.
You're just standing there, like eating
Just
a bunch of
blood
pills.
coming out of my mouth as I stuff pills in there.
One more thing.
One more thing. Oh!
You want to talk about the thought cabinet right now?
Yeah, let's talk
Might
about the
as
thought
well.
cabinet. I think that also is really interesting.
I didn't understand what was happening for the longest time with that. Very interesting concept, though. To be able to...
Well, I mean, explain it, or does someone else want to take the reins on that one?
I'll explain it in the way that I think it works, and then you can probably explain it better.
Oh.
But
All right, go for
so
it.
basically, the actions and choices that you do will create an opportunity for you to like learn a skill based on it, and then so you internalize it for a certain amount of time until you gain enough experience to like learn the thing that it's getting at, and then it gives you more positives. If that makes sense.
Or negatives. There are
Well, I think it's
absolutely-
negative at first, but it's positive once you learn it.
Yes, but there are some that once you finish internalizing them, it's just a debuff.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
I mean,
Yeah, I guess
I
it
hope
could
Hold
go
up to
either
it,
way. But
slight positive, though, right? Even if it's just raising the cap on something.
what?
What
no,
are-
no, there are some. Actually, there's one I'm upset about that I will bring up later, but...
But you can just get rid of them.
Yeah, you can. But
I don't
also
like doing it.
You've wasted a bunch of time to get there. Sometimes it's like there's a lot of clothing that does that, right? Where it's -1 this skill and then +1 this skill, right? Mm-hmm. Or some mixture of that sort of thing.
That could be part of the role play of like the character, though. It's like that may happen negatively, but you kind of just accept that that's who the character is.
Yeah.
All right.
But I don't know the one that
you're like
talking
locked
about.
in. You only have some. I mean, it's a whatever stat. I'll look it up, or not stat, like thought. But yeah, you get an idea. You get to mull it over. You get to internalize it, and that adds to your overall build. Very cool.
Yeah. Here's what I'd like to say about it. In Disco Elysium, there's like 3 things Harry will come across and usually get ideas about, right? One is sometimes someone will like say a word or a concept and he'll go, I should think more about that later. Like a good example is like this guy was talking about the Boyadega way of life, where he's like, this is my philosophy of how you should get by with like harsh individualism. And then Harry will go, harsh individualism, that's interesting. Maybe I could think about that one, right? He won't like say that in the story, but that's basically what it's doing. Sometimes it'll be something about his past. He'll like say something in dialogue and then think, where'd that come from? Is that something like that I've experienced before? Is that something that like I can't remember but I've done before? And then sometimes Harry will like experience something in the real world, like see someone kill themselves or something like that, like experience something horrific or interesting, and it'll go, how does that one make me feel? Maybe I should think about it later. And that's what the thought cabinet is. It is a way to like almost recycle your experiences in the game to get like a second wave of information out of it. Like almost all the interesting conversations in the game will have some entry in the thought cabinet. And it just gives you the opportunity to take that on and internalize whatever that experience was into being a piece of your character.
It also takes time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so you have to set it up where it's like, I am now thinking about this thing. And time only passes in the game if you're going through, like, the dialogue bar on the side. So if you're, like, reading a book and interacting with that, or if you're actually talking to someone, time will only move given each reaction, I guess. But that's really interesting. It's like this payoff, and when you originally set it up, like, you're taking, like, a stat debuff. I don't know. Did you go into any, like, sort of thoughts being like, this is definitely one that I want to engage with as far as game content-wise? I want to hear more about this? Or did you go into it thinking, like, I think this will give me a bonus at the end of it?
I was always going in thinking that there would be some big payoff at the end of each of them, because I'm gullible. And a lot of the times, I was disappointed. I was really disappointed in Superstar Cop, because it was like a penalty while you're researching it, and once you come out of it, it's like a -1 in a couple of different stats, but it raises the cap on some stats. And I was, at the time, like, this is fucking useless. Why did I go through all that time with that penalty if I'm just going to get rid of this later?
But raising the caps really helped.
That's the thing. Further down the line, when I was like 40 points later, after I'd leveled up a bunch, I was like, God, I'm glad I kept Superstar Cop, because I am really happy that I'm able to like go 1 point higher on each of these, because these are stats I like.
Yeah, I don't think I really got too many of them, so when I did get one, I just went for it.
Some of them are really useful. A lot of them will increase the XP you get throughout a run, and I think that's why I ended up with so many more levels than y'all. Like, I had Big Communism Builder, which gives you XP whenever you use leftist dialogue options. I had the Conceptualization one, which, again, gives you morale back, but it also gives you XP whenever you, like, whenever you get a passive conceptualization check. I had the Encyclopedia one, which gives you money. It gives you $2 every time you do a passive encyclopedia check.
What?
It pays you to read.
What are you doing? No.
I had so much money. No, I went and I bought all the clothes from the clothes salesman. I was buying shit at the.
No wonder you
I
had all
was
that.
buying books over at the bookstore. I was buying, yeah.
You had all that magnesium. I definitely was going around with the bag collecting cans.
Yeah.
I would go to a conversation. 5 encyclopedia checks. That's $10 in the pocket.
Oh my god! Did you ever stay at the?
I stayed every night.
At the hostel?
No. Yes.
Oh
The room in rags.
You-
I was living in luxury.
What the fuck?
Get all that XP.
I know there is one called Remote Viewers Division, right? And the research time takes 6 hours, and for the research time it's -1 perception. And on completion, you only get -1 to drama and -1 difficulty to all psychic checks.
That's not that bad.
Wait, what?
You just get a -1 drama, and -1 difficulty to all psychic checks. Okay,
You know,
I don't know. That's still.
I mean, that's
Not-
useful because of what June was saying earlier about how the checks are like very averaged out. So
I bet I know what this one has going on. The next thing that Thought Cabinet tends to add is dialogue options.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Interesting.
That one probably has some really good dialogue options linked to it.
I know in
my
the
guess.
Hinpier interview, the Helen Hinpier interview, they were asking about that, and I know. Oh gosh, on the Thought Cabinet, she said it seemed nice to have an inventory for your thoughts, and that also that whole system was like a mess up until just a few weeks before the game's release.
yeah,
She said it wasn't something that they had forgotten about necessarily, but it was not that far along or really honed until real late in the game's development. Also, her favorite thought is one that makes you fail all red checks if it's in research. And it's meant for those serial min-maxers who just can't help but to do everything, try to do everything
I
perfectly.
saw it, and then I was like, I didn't take it.
You didn't take it?
I didn't take it. It was also like my Thought Cabinet was full. I really wish the Thought Cabinet did not have like a maximum number.
Yeah.
My Thought Cabinet was full, and I think that was the main deciding factor in me not taking it, because I was so certain that it would be incredible if I got through that one.
you can increase it though, right? Or no? I thought I remember that.
You can
can buy,
increase
like,
the
3
size, but up to a maximum.
Okay.
Yeah, because I definitely did that. I think it's interesting, though, like, what stuff you have to figure out what to throw out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but all of them were like experiences that you've had in the game.
Yeah.
So it feels, I mean, it's hoarder mentality, but it feels really bad to like tarnish the thought of it or whatever. To be like, nah, this one's not important to me.
Yeah, but to make room for your stuff. You have to forget old ways of thinking.
Not my Harry.
not your Harry. Well, you forgot most ways of thinking to begin with at the start of the game.
Yeah, this is my new Harry. I built him up in like 3 days, and he did not learn anything new after that.
She also talks about clothes in the game, or like items that you can equip that like change different stats. And I know she said she was trying to take classic RPG elements and twist them a bit. And I just thought this was interesting. It's like clothes have almost imagined bonuses. A lot of it talks about how our strength is imagined. And she says, if I put on some really cool clothes, yeah, I'm going to feel better. And if I show up in a kimono to a karaoke bar and nothing else, I mean, I guess it's going to make me a bit more brave because I've already showed up with this much flair and drama. So yeah, it kind of really shows that all of this is very, very imaginary.
That's an interesting line because the kimono really helps with karaoke.
Yeah.
Because it gives +2 to drama.
Yep.
Now you put the kimono on, you put the bow tie on, you got like a +4 right there.
That's true.
Now I didn't like one thing about the clothing. So all the clothes come with like a plus and a minus. So like every time that I know that there's a check that I really don't want to mess up, like a really bad red check, right? What I would find myself doing is just like exiting out of the conversation, changing my clothes, and going back and trying the red check with like, you know, a +4 from the clothes.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it could be any different, but it doesn't feel the best.
What do you mean?
It feels kind of cheesy. If you like, I know that I'm doing it, but it's like,
Yeah, I think it just reinforces that mindset of being like, all right, now I'm ready to have this conversation. You know?
Well, also like I had the fit that I liked wearing generally, which I went for looks, and every once in a while I didn't like having to switch off of that.
I would build the best build that I like what I wanted to put stuff into. I think my clothing build was very drama based that I would always return to in between switching stuff out for stats.
Drama's so good.
And I think doing the act is a lot more exaggerated physically for the game, but I think it's nice to imagine Harry being like, you know what I mean, at something, taking out like a pair of sunglasses, putting them on, and then continuing by asking a very specific question. It really, I don't know, I think it fits the character a lot, and I get that that's not exactly what's happening.
Will you tell me no if I turn around, put a point into his stat, and then turn back around with my Dick Mullen hat on?
Yeah.
No, I didn't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think it's interesting the way it works. Yeah. You could absolutely just play the game very, whatever happens, happens.
That's kind of, mine was more skill based, I think, than style.
I also didn't like that, okay, first and foremost, whenever I want to, like, min-max my stats with clothing so I could succeed a check, which, by the way, +3 can make a huge difference because of the fact that it's a 2d6 system. It can bring you up from like being like a 2% chance or something to like almost being 50-50.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And +3 is a pretty standard amount to be getting if you swap like 2 clothing items. One of the problems was there's no way to search by skill. So it would just take like a minute of me just hovering over a piece of clothing as I try to remember which ones will provide bonuses and hover over everything I'm wearing to figure out which ones are providing negatives so I can like get my stat up. But
I would take a lot of chances. Usually I had my default build and I would try a check if it was like 30% or above.
I would do that because I didn't want to exit out and go through the hassle. And also, again, because it feels kind of cheesy at times. The other thing is, I really like Harry's starter outfit, and it's got a bunch of negatives and stats I like. Unfortunately.
Do you have a favorite piece of clothing?
Not necessarily. I think the necktie is interesting. I don't know exactly how that works. Like, if there's a certain stat you have to have in order for it to talk to you more.
Inland Empire.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That would make sense.
That one's the one that makes objects talk to you.
Really?
It allows you to personify objects. I'm pretty sure, right?
Huh. I think so.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
there's checks to like talk to the dead body, and it's Inland Empire.
Yeah, you get the necktie. It's when you wake up at the beginning. It's on the ceiling fan, and so you grab it down, and if you put it on and you have the right stats, it'll actually talk to you. And it kind of like convinces you to do like evil things.
Evil things?
Oh, I need to do a
I knew that was an ugly necktie.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly.
That's what Inland Empire means by hunches and gut feelings, dreams and waking life.
That's why I like the bow tie more.
Cool for dreamers and paranatural investigators. I am totally going to do a Twin Peaks run of Disco Elysium.
Yeah.
I'm going to go the most supernatural psyche build I can.
I was a really big fan of the armored boots because the interactions required to have them. The boots are found on the cadaver that you're dealing with in the story, and the thing is, you can't steal the boots while Kim is around because Kim will notice. So what you have to do is when you're doing the autopsy, you don't write down that the boots are on the body so that nobody questions it back at the station. And then you steal the boots while Kim is asleep, and then you bag the body and you send it off, and Kim doesn't know. But then you're just walking around wearing the boots next to Kim, and you get this dialogue option that's like, are we going to talk about these boots or not? And I never clicked it.
Like, you can ask Kim that?
Yeah, you could walk up to him and be like, hey, are we going to talk about these boots I'm wearing?
I feel like that's something he should
exactly.
With
if
you.
he's not going to approach me with it, he's not going to approach me
unless
with
a Rockstar cop
He
just like...
mentions that, you know,
seen...
he'll just kind of look away while you're doing dumb stuff a lot.
You never mentioned that to me.
Oh, I've had him say it before.
I mean, you can see it in interactions where you start some shit and Kim's just like very intensely like inspecting his pencil or like something. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't want any part of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Or if you
cleaning
take
his glasses.
when you try to get the dead body down and you try to shoot it, I think there's some situation where Kim just kind of like pretends like he's not looking.
Oh, I had Kim try to shoot it.
I think Kim fails.
He
like,
does
every time.
Yeah. And Kim does make the shot of the lifetime at the like end of the story, so it's like a full arc.
What do you want to say about Revachol?
Revachol is the site of a communist revolution that was then thwarted by foreign capitalist powers. They rose up, bested their oppressors, ended up trying to instate a communist regime, and then the like. What is the moralist government like? What's the coalition called?
The Coalition?
Coalition. It's just called the Coalition. The coalition of a bunch of governments that are all like basically analogous, however you say that one, to the UN, end up showing up and just kind of steamrolling over the remaining forces of the revolutionaries because they were all basically beaten to a pulp during the revolution. So there was very little resistance they could put up against another war on the horizon. And then the coalition started instating, like, not exactly direct control, but financial control over almost all of Revachol. It became kind of a satellite state. Martinez is somewhere where it's, like, as far as possible from the interests of the coalition. The coalition have like a predominant philosophy of moralism. So that's Revachol, and that is the site of the Revachol Citizens Militia, which is the only force that is actually like owned by the city itself and not by the coalition. So you've got some degree of power to try and police the area. You're moving into Martinez, where none of the RCM actually has any power because it is mostly governed by the local union, which gets to remain in power so long as they play nice with foreign interests, which is it called Wild Pines? Company that owns the port that they're at. The thing is, they aren't playing nice. They're trying to go on strike because they want to wrestle the port away. And Martinez is weird because it's not connected to, like, any part of the city that the coalition usually would care about governing. It's sort of an area that the coalition never sent funds to help in the rebuilding of. They never tried to, like, fix the impoverished areas or the ruins of it. It's still just this bombed out mess. People are living in, like, the remains of apartment buildings that have, like, big holes torn through the walls that are now covered in tarps. It is a war site that people still have to live in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like a big crack going through the middle area.
So a lot of stuff happened. I think after the revolution got squashed, right, by the coalition, there's also a nuclear meltdown.
What?
Like a few years past that. Yeah, if you talk to the pawn shop owner, he talks about it. He's basically on a psychedelic drug all the time because you, as Harry Dubois, walk in and be like, you're on something. Like, I'll have what you're having. You know what I mean? And he's like,
I didn't have enough electrochemistry.
Oh, really? Hey, well,
I saw that check. I never got it.
He's just like, I have to be on this because I suffered like a lot of
radiation.
When I was helping clean up, you know, back when that happened. So it was left in such bad state, right? And there was no, I guess, oversight or funds or really any intervention.
Volunteers.
They had to like clean up after that whole meltdown.
It really feels like the coalition took away the local government and then left nothing in its place.
Well, there are parts of Revachol that definitely mean something, or the coalition like have investments in, or influence over, and this is just neither of it. They won't invest in it, and they don't have much influence over it. It is very on the outskirts.
Yeah, but no one could rise to power because it still technically kind of belongs to the coalition.
Hence the Hardy Boys.
Yeah. So in a state where its owners refuse to govern and won't allow anyone else to govern, what you have is local militias that take up arms and try to keep some degree of order. And that is who those Hardy Boys are.
Well, I think that's specifically in Martinez, though. I don't think other areas have them.
We don't know anything about the other areas. We know that Jamrock is a lot more controlled by the RCM, though.
Yeah, but that's the RCM. A lot of other places I think, have that, but the RCM, the Revolutionary Citizens Militia, is like a remnant from before the coalition squashed the revolution forces, and the militia kind of just got turned into their policing, right?
Yeah. That's why they're named after the ICM. One of the other forces that existed during the revolution. They're the ones with the little upside down stars that they put on everything.
That's right. But I think specifically Martinez is unique. I think it's just on the outskirts so much that they kind of just police themselves. You're sent from other districts. There are a lot of other districts, but I think to some degree Martinez is an outlier. So yeah, when you arrive in Martinez, there is a strike going on because they absolutely want the port for themselves, right? The shipping port. And
every worker a member of the board, Harry.
That is one of their demands.
Well, it's a fake demand. The idea is make an outrageous enough demand that, like, Wild Pines does something drastic to try and break the strike, and then use that as justification to separate from Wild Pines. And they need justification so that they can have an easier time forming connections with the companies that won't want to work with the port that broke away from its owner company.
I see. I guess that makes sense. But that's going on. So you show up. There are a bunch of people outside protesting. The dock, a bunch of scabs who want to work there.
Work.
And then
those fucking scabs.
You definitely meet Joyce, who is filling in for somebody who showed up and tried to negotiate with the union. The union wasn't having anything of it. And through some shady circumstances, ended up just ditching the job. And so they sent Joyce. Which I don't think she's been able to talk to Everett at all.
Everett got rid of the previous negotiator who knew how to actually navigate the port and get in.
Yep.
And then he sealed away all the easy ways in and then was like, well, if you want to send a negotiator, I'll talk with them. Well, fully knowing that nobody but the old negotiator would actually be able to find him.
Before the old negotiator went away, things were already pretty bad on strike. So it seemed they sent in basically like contracted like military. What is that called?
Oh yeah,
like
they had a bunch of mercenaries in there.
Mercenaries. So Wild Pines hired mercenaries and sent them.
They called like Crinell or something.
Yeah, Crinell, and had them on duty around the dock. And the reason you're in Martinez, Martinez, not. Yeah. The reason you're in Martinez specifically is that one of them has been murdered and is hanging in a tree behind the hostel that you're staying in. But you've also been there for like 3 days and apparently have not looked at yet.
You might have looked at the body. Sometime in those 3 days, you drank so much that you crashed your car into the ice, then wandered into the hostel and passed out. After selling your gun to the pawn shop. Saying that you would probably kill yourself if you didn't take it off your hands.
So yeah, that's the story. That
Well, it's the start of it.
start of it. Do we want to just go over the story beats, or do you want to learn about some more behind the scenes stuff?
Let's do more behind the scenes stuff.
All right.
That's the stuff I'm interested in.
So, the lead writer, and is generally credited with the world of Elysium in general, is Robert Kurvitz. There are three main people, who I guess spearheaded the Disco Elysium thing. They were in an artist collective. They were in a collective before that. Then an artist collective post that was specifically more around this project. And that was Robert Kurvitz, Alexander Rostov, which is the artist. If you see like any of the portraits in the game, all of that is like, I feel like his or heavily inspired by his style. And Helen Hindepere. And I believe she is credited as a writer in the game and also lead writer on the final cut. But Robert Kurvitz is an Estonian novelist, game designer, and musician. I know in 2001 he became the lyricist and lead singer of a progressive rock band called Ultra Melanchool. I don't know if there's a translation for that, or if that means something other than what it is, but what I did think was interesting that apparently it is seen by a lot to be like a continuation of like the alt-rock tradition of this band called Veniscond, and one called Metroliminal. And I do know that Metallica covered their the Veniscond song, Incinere Guarini. So if you want to, they're apparently Veniscond is a Estonian punk band. They're founded in 1984. But yeah, Metallica's done a cover of one of their songs. He actually didn't see much success with his band, and I think had to self-release the second album anyway. So he is known for music, but only, I guess, in that sense. His first venture into the Disco Elysium universe was in 2013 when Kurvitz published the book Sacred and Terrible Air.
So that's like in the same like universe, basically.
Yes. I don't know if he went to school to be a novelist or not, but I do know he is like a writer, and that was his main thing. And he worked for over 5 years on this book, and the plot centers on three men who 20 years after the unexplained disappearance of their classmates are still determined to locate them. While the book garnered positive critical review, it only sold about 1,000 to 1,500 copies in Estonia. And apparently that caused Kurvitz to succumb to deep alcoholism.
Okay.
Which I'm sure inspired some of Harry's character in the game.
Yeah.
An English transition was planned in 2020, I think post-release of Disco Elysium. But it eventually fell through. And right now, this brings me to one of my first surprises. Right now, there are two fan translations that have been done. And I located the more popular one, I think. And I have a copy of that, of his first book, fan translated.
What language is it?
English. It's fan translation.
Well, I mean, like the original.
Oh, Estonian. There's only about 1.3 million people in Estonia.
Okay.
So, apparently fans have been wanting this translation, and they worked on it themselves. So, I do have a copy of Sacred and Terrible Air.
We have it here with us tonight!
In PDF form.
Oh.
In PDF form. So, some person did say, like, in the comments, I found it on a Reddit post, that they sent it to a place that will, like, print it and bind it.
Was Estonia part of the Soviet Union?
I believe so.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. The capital Tallinn, I think, is, or I guess Estonia in general, is a big inspiration for the Elysium setting.
There are more than 1,500 islands. That's probably why Elysium is a world of only islands.
Isolas, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Isolas or
So,
Yeah,
yes,
fair. We're on a world of only islands.
I have it in my Discord, and I will send it to you accordingly. I have one other thing that I think y'all might enjoy, as far as that goes. Let me look this up because there was this campaign, well, not a campaign, but a bunch of people in I think it was just the Disco Elysium subreddit, right? Came together, pooled their money, and voted on a bunch of different voice lines they wanted to hear Kim Kitsuragi say.
Oh my God.
So
Yes! Yes!
I found the Kim Kitsuragi shitpost voice lines.
This is like Gabriel Ultrakill.
How did we get here? We walked, believe it or not. You were not entirely lucid.
So that's in 10th place. We have
I want to have fuck with you.
from the opening.
Normal people, when they go down slide, they're fine. No, detective. I do not just want to go apeshit. Apartment complex. I find it quite simple. Officer, what the fuck was that?
We got trans rights.
Trans rights are human rights, detective. Obviously.
Surprised that didn't make first.
3rd place.
Do I like man? Man is a hopeless creature. I don't like much of anyone. If you meant sexually, then yes.
We have
Detective, instead of worrying about appearing submissive and breathable, please make sure your paperwork is submitted and readable.
and finally in 1st place.
I'm the king of the highway.
I like some of the other ones a little bit more.
So, I just thought that was neat, and I wanted to share that with y'all. This is the episode outro. Wait. We're ending it right here.
Yeah, there's got to be a part 2.
The union requires of us that the episode doesn't get too long. We won't have any listeners left.
Every episode of Vote in the Company.
All right, so we got to pause right now because Mr. Everett
Is helping us find
Our episode 2.
We need to split it into 2 pieces because it's simply too much content.
just cannot contain all that content.
And it's too good.
Too good.
Yeah.
Can't waste any of it.
Could, harm you if you listen to it in one sitting.
Yeah.
The union bought that content. We can't just throw it out.
Now, there's nothing stopping you from listening to both parts in one sitting. Oh, yeah, our Instagram.
All right, we've got other things to say. So yeah, we've got the Instagram. We've got what else do we have?
It's Rogues Nerdery, right?
Yeah, Rogues Nerdery.
This one's Rogues Nerdery. Okay, it's Rogues Nerdery.
You could email us at roguesnerdery@gmail.com if you want to.
Literally, whatever you want to email us.
Jack
Well,
has to read it.
Hold on, I should pull that back a little bit. Not whatever you want.
No,
to
actually,
email us.
whatever.
Anything?
Anything.
Anything. Okay. June's saying we'll take anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe support us on Patreon, maybe? I don't know. That'll be
On a
available.
$5 Patreon?
A $5 Patreon.
$5 Patreon.
That's cheaper than a Subway sandwich.
Cheaper than a Subway
That's
sandwich.
a steal. That's cheaper than
One
2...
monthly Subway sandwich? No, get the Rogues Nerdery Patreon deal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
More filling. I just got a Domino's pizza, $6.99, large. That also makes our Patreon look really good.
Well, I'm not sure about that because now we're competing our Patreon with like a Domino's pizza.
What was a coupon? So they're not even normally.
Oh,
No,
wait a
normally
second,
it
wait a
looks
second.
even better.
I think
Here.
we're bringing it back.
Fill your mouth with pizza, fill your ears with Rogues Nerdery.
I like that.
I like that.
All right, thanks for listening. I'm Noah.
I'm June.
I'm Jack.
And
Check
this,
out part 2 after this.
and this has been Rogues Nerdery.
This has been part 1.